State of Environment Report. Without further ado, I would like to request Dr. Abid Qayyum Soleri, who is Executive Director at STPI, has been a member of COP29 Advisory Council, to please join us at the podium for the welcome remarks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and my apologies from colleagues who have joined us online for this delayed start, which was beyond our control due to the traffic diversion in road maintenance in Islamabad. But now, as our guests are here, we are about to start. So thank you very much for your patience while you were waiting online. Let me please join me in welcoming two of our guests from UNEP Nairobi office. We have with us Mr. Sander, and we have with us Ms. Caroline, who are here from UNEP Kenya to share the best practices of National State of the Environment Report. But before discussing it, why it is important, I think we need to go one step back. So after welcoming our guests here, I think the most important thing to treat any problem is the right diagnosis. And we know that today's diagnosis, it depends on science, it depends on data, it depends on not only the best use of evidences, but also to identify which evidences to use, how to connect those evidences, how to connect the dots. And this is what today's Inception workshop is about. United Nations Environment Program and Sustainable Development Policy Institute, we are trying to support Ministry of Climate Change in this endeavor. Just to go back to some of the historic work that STPI has done, I think it was back in 2006 or 7 when the first State of Environment Report for Pakistan was prepared, and that was prepared by SDPI, Sustainable Development Policy Institute, again at that time with the collaboration with the UNEP. Now things have moved on. We know now we have access to data, we have access to modern software, we have access to more algos, we have access to artificial intelligence, and all of this, it not only makes the job easy, but it also makes the jobs very challenging. And this time the challenge is not use of technology, the challenge is identifying the correct baselines, identifying the correct evidences, identifying the correct data, and then connecting the dot, trying to see that how a representative picture of state of environment for any country, and for this purpose for Pakistan can be drawn. We know that Pakistan is not the only country that is doing it. We have seen it, such reports coming from different other constituencies and different other governments. And today, our guests, they would be sharing the case of Malawi with us, how Malawi, government of Malawi, they actually compiled their state of environment. And among the participants who have joined us today, the worthy participants, most of them, they have spent their careers in compiling data, in conducting research on data, in producing evidences, and perhaps they can share their experience to you so that it can be an interactive learning process whereby we'll be able to tell you what are our experiences with the data, what are our handicaps, which indicators they are difficult to measure, which indicators they are not uniformly measured, which indicators they are measured through proxy data and proxy indicators, and then trying to relate them into one cohesive and consolidated report that can present a picture of state of environment. And of course, if the diagnosis is correct, it would be quite easy then to treat it, not only the environment for the sake of environment, but also for climate change. And we know that uh, Ministry of Climate Change is now in the final stages of compiling the third iteration of our NDCs, nationally determined contributions. And again, some of the work that we'll be doing for state of environment, I think it directly links with our NDCs, because it would provide a baseline for the NDC. Finally, I would again like to thank Ministry of Climate Change for their continued trust in both in UNEP as well as in STPI and other partners. I think the government of Pakistan has actually demonstrated over the years that it's an open government, and it is always willing to work with and work through stakeholders. I think this is something which is one of the strengths while we are compiling or we are undergoing through any sort of diagnosis report. So it will be a collective effort, and once we agree on some sort of outline for the report, the set of expertise that have joined us online, set of expertise which are present in this room, they'll be able to guide us in a better manner how best to tailor this report, who can be the potential contributors. And of course, it's the Ministry of Climate Change who has the ownership of it, and who will be taking the lead in it. Our role would be just to support the ministry. And I'll also be acknowledging the presence of some of the experts from Aga Khan University, both from Canada as well as from Nairobi and Pakistan, who are quite closely working on the linkages between environment and health, environment and education, climate change and food security, and some other experts. So I look forward to an interactive discussion, and thanks for sparing your valuable time and joining us today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suleri, for the welcome remarks. And the key objectives, as you mentioned, for this workshop is to share the state of environment outlook reporting lessons learned through the experience of UNEP's flagship Global Environment Outlook process, as well as Malawi's National State of Environment Report, and to introduce the dialogue within the stakeholders in Pakistan, and also the environmental professionals, both who have joined us in person and online, to come up with approaches for developing the National State of Environment Report in Pakistan. Now we have, because this process is being supported by United Nations Environment Program, I would like to welcome Ms. Yujang Kim, Senior Program Management Officer, United Nations Environment Program Bangkok Office, for her remarks. Over to you, Yujang. She has joined us online.
Thank you, Jaina. Do you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Distinguished guests and experts, colleagues and stakeholders, it's my great pleasure and honor to open this workshop on the National State of the Environment Report for Pakistan. Allow me first to express my gratitude to the Ministry of Climate Change and Environmental Coordination and the Sustainable Development Policy Institute, SDPI, of Pakistan for organizing this event with UNEP. My special thanks go to Ms. Aisha Moriani, Additional Secretary in Charge, and Mr. Asif Sahib Zada, Director General of Ministry of Climate Change and Environmental Coordination, and Dr. Abid Suleri, Executive Director, SDPI, whose presence underscores the importance of this critical endeavor. I would also like to extend my appreciation and welcome to all the participants who are joining in person and online. As you all know, we are facing three intertwined environmental crises: climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. These catastrophes are getting worse by the day and jeopardizing decades of hard-won development gains. Pakistan also stands at the forefront of environmental challenges that demand immediate and decisive action. The devastating floods of 2022, which affected over 33 million people and caused widespread destruction, highlighted the need for stronger climate resilience. Air pollution continues to impact public health, with cities like Lahore consistently ranking among the most polluted globally. Water scarcity is an escalating concern, compounded by inefficient resource management and over-extraction. In addition, biodiversity loss, deforestation, and unplanned urban expansion further threaten the delicate balance of Pakistan's ecosystems. So these challenges make it clear that a robust, evidence-based approach is crucial to guide environmental policy and actions. As the leading global environmental authority, UNEP is deeply committed to strengthening science policy interface. Globally, we're working on the 7th edition of Global Environment Outlook, GEO7, the flagship report of UNEP, mandated by the UN Environment Assembly. Building on the findings of the previous GEOs, the upcoming GEO7 will address the root cause of environmental degradation and come up with the transformational solutions needed to achieve an environmentally sustainable world. At the national level, UNEP is supporting the member states through various initiatives, including the capacity development for an inclusive policy interface using environmental information and knowledge systems project, of which this workshop is a key component. Ladies and gentlemen, environmental data and science are the key in navigating the era of multiple crises. Data-based, informed environmental decisions are crucial because it's data and science that help us identify the problem and give us solutions. Without them, we would be scratching our heads, wondering why we're having these problems and have no idea what to do. We cannot afford this kind of guessing game in today's context. This is where a National State of the Environment report plays a transformative role. The National State of the Environment report is more than a document. It's a tool for transparency, accountability, and informed policymaking. It provides a comprehensive assessment of a country's environmental health, identifies trends, and highlights areas requiring urgent action. Furthermore, it supports the public's right to environmental information, empowering citizens to engage in and support sustainable development initiatives. So this workshop brings together key stakeholders and experts to strengthen the methodologies and frameworks needed for a robust National State of the Environment report. It's also an opportunity to enhance collaboration and share expertise, ensuring the report reflects the realities on the ground while meeting international standards. I encourage all of you to actively participate, share your insights, and help shape a report that will guide Pakistan toward a more sustainable future. Together, we can ensure that environmental data becomes a driver for resilience, innovation, and growth. So once again, I would like to thank you, our co-organizers and my fellow UNEP colleagues who have flown all the way from Nairobi, and all the participants for your dedication to this vital work. I look forward to the outcomes of today's discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kim, for the remarks. And yes, we have been joined by the two trainers, Ms. Caroline and Mr. Sander from UNEP, all the way from Nairobi. They are here to explain the processes that were undertaken by Malawi and also for Geo7 report. So that will help us shaping the narrative around Pakistan's report as well, the technical methodology around how we can better develop this report in Pakistan. So they will be giving us the sessions after this morning plenary. So before we move towards the sessions, we are really honored to have been joined by Madam Aisha Murani from the Additional Secretary in charge, Ministry of Climate Change and Environmental Coordination. Ma'am, I would like to invite you at the podium for your special remarks, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I do it from here?
Sure,
It's
sure.
much more, more inclusive to be part of everyone. So thank you very much for inviting me. And whatever has been said so far is music to my ears. I really appreciate the effort made by STPI. They have been working in Pakistan for several decades, and their contribution to environment is commendable. And I really, I'm grateful actually to UNEP for coming up for this exercise on the state of environment national report. And coming up with the methodologies that have been practiced in other countries, and we are looking forward to have that interaction. Data-based policy making and evidence-based decision making, I don't really have to emphasize its importance. This is something which is absolute must, which is required. And I think the last report came in 2016 or 17, which is
It was never presented to the government.
Which was never presented to the government. Which, so
2016.
okay, so that's something which happened long time ago. So Ministry of Climate Change is fully behind this exercise, and we will make sure that this is presented not just to the Prime Minister but to the cabinet as well. Because government is cognizant of the challenges that Pakistan is facing, as it was highlighted by the dear colleague, that the kind of floods that we have faced and the impact of climate change. It's not just one sector. It is having an impact on water, food security, health, desertification. So all these challenges require data-based, indicators, and then baseline setting for us from where we can measure progress, that what needs to be done. A few days ago, we had a meeting on the climate change policy implementation. And my first question to the ministry was, where is the baseline? Policy was made in 2021. So, where are we in the last 3-4 years? Unless we have some sort of a baseline, indicators, and an agreed methodology to see, first of all, correct diagnosis, and then setting the baseline, and then, setting targets for us, and then having indicators to see whether we are meeting those targets or not. These are the basis of any policy. Without that, we just can't make progress. So I hope that at the end of this exercise, the work that government is doing through EPAs will also be taken into consideration. I hope someone is here from EPA Islamabad. If not, please engage them. And I hope that provincial EPAs will also be taken on board. And the challenges that they are facing, the capacity constraints that they are facing needs to be highlighted in this report. Because this is an existential threat to the country. And if we are not allocating enough resources to, find solutions and take action on this threat, we would not be able to mitigate it. So it's extremely important that those gaps are also identified through this report. and we hope that government then would be able to allocate enough resources, and we hope that donors will also come forward and fulfill their commitments, as they have to indicate in their BTRs that what are they providing to countries who are heavily impacted by climate change. So we are looking forward to have a very good interaction among all the stakeholders, and it's good to know that academia is also engaged. I would encourage that please involve NUST also. I just had a meeting with NUST yesterday. Their whole environment department was there, and they shared some of the work that they are doing in Islamabad in terms of measuring the air quality. So we need to engage few good academic institutes who have the capability to develop tools and help government in measuring the impacts, and continuously support us in gathering data which is based on evidence. And it's also extremely important that we start using technology and GIS mapping, and engage also public in terms of making them aware. There is a very good example that how dengue was controlled in Punjab by using technology. And maybe some of those tools which government has successfully used in other departments and in other policy areas will also be suggested, so that we have a robust system of collecting data from government organizations, academia, even from the community, and from all the stakeholders who can really help us to make it a robust system of data which is credible. And then through this data we are able to get resources not just from the national budget, but from the international donors as well, to meet this challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam. And you're absolutely correct. We have to engage the stakeholders. So for this report, today is the Inception workshop. And after the workshop today, we will be developing working groups, technical working groups, along with a technical scientific advisory group who will be managing the contents of the report. And within those working groups, we will ensure that provinces are involved, because this is a National State of Environment report. And our National State of Environment report, you pointed that out, right? That it was developed in 2016. Punjab's government developed the report in 2023. That's the latest one, developed on the latest methodology. And that is also serving as a benchmark for this report as well. Along with that, we will be focusing around how the key priorities of the government can be integrated along with the data insights. And we are also aware of the challenges that we might face while developing the report. For example, some of the data, to get the data might be a bit of challenging, especially related to certain industries, etc. But for that, because STPI is working in a coalition of different organizations and we have networks, we will be engaging them as well to ensure that the best case studies, the best possible use cases around which data has been gathered becomes a part of this report. And we have representative from NUST as well, Dr. Salman. Thank you so much for joining us. From Aga Khan, from other universities, we have engaged the professors. We have development partners here. We have Ms. Obia Becker from GIZ. We have UN system here with us. Along with them, we have the public sector departments from National Disaster Management Authorities. Then NDRMF is here. So also EPA, without them, it's not possible to go about this report. So EPA has a very key role. We have extended the invitation and we are looking forward to engaging them later in the day. But they will be the part of the process, definitely. So we have now, as per the agenda, we have a group photo, but before that, although we have stakeholders, if we have online stakeholders as well, so I would request, taking the leverage of your presence, to online participants as well to introduce themselves, and then we can come towards the in-person participants for the introduction. Mariam, may I please start with you?
Hi, Zainab. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mariam Shabir Abbasi, and currently I am a PhD student at the University of Vermont in the US. It's almost 1 o'clock at night. Was pleasure to join here, and I worked with STPI previously for a decade, and I'm still a visiting senior researcher with Sustainable Development Policy Institute, and I have worked on climate-induced migration, air pollution, single-use plastic bans back in Pakistan. I was key stakeholder in that too, and broadly working on climate change issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Dr. Hina Aslam. Dr. Hina, may I please request if you can introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Zainab. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, I'm on my way back home from the office, so I cannot switch on the camera from the car. But thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be part of this process. My name is Hina, and I'm a visiting fellow at STPI, and I'm a senior fellow at the Australian National University and World Economic Forum. I had worked at STPI previously in the energy transition program, ecological program, and environment. I've also worked at the unit during my PhD. So lots of experience that I think we can together bring into this report. And very pleased to be part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hina. Ms. Kanza Naqvi. Ms. Kanza, Mr. Ahmad, okay. Mr. Ahmad Waheed, if you can introduce yourself, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Ahmad Kazi. I am postdoctoral fellow at Aga Khan University. I have a background of PhD in environmental science, and my research is on climate modeling, land use transitions, and food security. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmad. Ms. Kanza Naqvi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Kanza Naqvi, and I am working as an assistant research manager at Aga Khan University Institute for Global Health and Development. And my research focus of my research is climate adaptations and mitigation strategies. And I have a background in epidemiology and biostatistics.
Thank you, Ms. Kanza. Arjuman Rizvi.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Arjuman, and I'm working as assistant professor in Institute of Global Health, Aga Khan University. And my academic background in the statistics, and I'm involved in several studies. And I also privileged to work on the on studies related to environment and the impact of climate on health outcomes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We can start from you, sir. And also, if you can use the mic, may I please request the team to support the participants? Provide the mic, please, so the online participants can hear.
Hello. So my name is Faiz Gilani. I'm here on behalf of Oxford Policy Management. I'm a part of the consultancy team in climate policy and finance. It's been almost like 4 or 5 months since I joined. My background is in urban economic development, as I did my degree from UCL related to that. And apart from that, my focus is mainly on climate policy and finance, climate governance, and urban studies. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shabir Hussain, and I'm working as a DM Social Safeguard in NDRMF's National Disaster Risk Management Fund, and my background in environmental and social safeguards. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. This is Sabiuddin. I am from National Institute of Disaster Management. My area of expertise is in climate change adaptation and glacier dynamics in HKH region of Pakistan.
Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rohma Arshad, and I'm a climate change consultant at Resources Future here in Islamabad. And I've worked on climate policy at subnational level as well. And my academic background is environmental engineering. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and good morning. I'm Hafsa Noman, representing United Nations World Food Program, and I'm Program Policy Officer and WFP Country Focal for Climate Change, Adaptation, and Resilience.
Hello everyone, my name is Ikri. I had been associated with UNDP for more than 5 years, 6 years with governance program. Nowadays, I am highlighting climate-related issues in international media in case of South Asia. As a profession now, as an agriculturalist, because it is directly related to with agriculture and land also. So this report and knowledge may be useful for me, and I can use it as a climate activist at community level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Hamad Bashir. I was part of UNIDO's Clean Energy Project, and I've been working in the area of climate finance since last 15 years.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Fariha Awais. I'm working with the International Finance Corporation, which is a private sector arm of the World Bank. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mahek Masood. I'm working as the National Project Officer at IOM and looking after the migration, environment, and climate change projects of IOM, which we are doing in collaboration with Ministry of Climate Change and Environmental Coordination. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. My name is Humaira Jahan Zaid, and I am the team lead for the National Adaptation Plan Project, which is by UNEP. And I also manage the Living Indus program. So me and the team, we're supporting the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment Coordination for both these programs. Thank you very much, SDPI and UNEP, for this very useful session. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Anna Jabbar, and I'm serving as a general focal person in NDRMF. Apparently, I might appear to be misfit for this event, but I was interested to attend this event because environment and gender are closely related. More understanding about environment and the risk in our environment and the way it affects people differently. Today's knowledge will help me to understand and enrich my own work and make it more practical and relevant.
No,
Thank you so much.
you're not a misfit at all. This is a cross sector that needs to be integrated. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Arif Gohir, Executive Director, Global Climate Change Impact Studies Center, which is the research arm of the Ministry of the Climate Change. The center is working basically on climate profiling, climate risk assessments, and it also provides technical support services in the preparation of the greenhouse gas inventories, national adaptation plans, and nationally determined contributions to Ministry of Climate Change. And we warmly welcome this initiative and would be very welcoming to contribute in an effective manner to this report. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Shafqat Munir. I'm Deputy Executive Director, SDPI Policy. And before SDPI, I worked with UNDP in Bangkok, Oxfam, ActionAid, and my focus area has been the community resilience, policy on climate change, related issue, climate change, negotiation, COP. So that's the area, and the report would be interesting. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Salman Atif. I'm a faculty at Institute of Geographical Information Systems at NUST. And most of what we do is map and validate data most of the time. So I work on methods for satellite remote sensing data or maybe large data sets where required. Thank you, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Amina Sohail. I am a lawyer by profession, and environment as a subject is close to my heart to the extent that I take my own mobile camera wherever I find any violation of the environmental laws and post it to the relevant authorities. I'm also part of a network at the moment which has filed a case in the Islamabad High Court regarding air quality in Islamabad. And I'm also a policy and regulatory expert working mainly in the energy and telecom sector. But of course, this sector also needs a lot of policy and regulatory interventions, and how coherently we can develop one to implement whatever policies we make and whatever laws we make to enforce those policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Shaheen, basically from the academic world, I'm heading the Department of International Relations at National Defense University. And I have been engaged as an academic in this field for the last 15 years. And at the department, we are trying to really increase the understanding of our student, both at the undergraduate level and the graduate level, about the challenges that we are facing from the climate change, from the environment. So this data-based and science-based decision making and policy making is something which is very important when it comes to like academic world, because we are closely connected with the policy making and decision making, and we keep on organizing events in the department which actually brings together the expert from the policy domain and also from the expertise which is available in the people like here and Amy. And so it is like to enlighten the students. So that's our, and I personally have been guiding many PhD level students. So it is like covering both the extreme weather events which are going to really hit Pakistan very badly, whether it's a disaster risk reduction or whether it's say air quality or the intersectionality when it comes to the impacts on the say marginalized community in our very remote areas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Zina Jasmine, meteorologist from Pakistan Meteorological Department. I have a background of remote sensing and GIS. Currently, I am working in Glacier Monitoring and Weather Modification Unit of Research and Development Division, PMD. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and assalamu alaikum, everyone. Sylvia Becker, I'm the lead advisor for the Pax-German Climate and Energy Partnership. Madam Moriani, your comments regarding data-driven policy and data-driven evidence-based decision-making are very, very welcome. And as you know, Germany has been providing strong support to the development of climate risk profiles in this country. We work very closely with ARIF in strengthening all of Pakistan's reporting under the Paris Agreement. And we will also working with the private sector on making sure that they're sustainable and taking care of the environment as they move forward. We stand ready to provide strong support to this initiative by making sure that the climate risk profiles are also feeding into the State of the Environment report, because at the end of the day, all of this information needs to converge and needs to be triangulated, because otherwise we'll be solving just one piece of one part of the problem and not the whole problem. And now at Baku, a lot of conversation has been around transformational adaptation, and it's very important that all systems work together. So we stand ready to provide that support. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Sophia, and then we'll be moving for the group photo as well, please.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Sufia Khaled, and from last 23 years, I'm working in the field of environmental science. For 20 years, I've worked in the Department of Environmental Science at Fatima Jinnah Women University, Rawalpindi. And from last 3 years, I'm heading Department of Environmental Science at Allama Iqbal Open University. And most of my work focused on this environmental monitoring and different environmental issues of Pakistan. So I have supervised many PhD students in this regard as well.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Afaf Ali. I was an associate researcher for industrial decarbonization at Renewables First, where my primary work was to map the green hydrogen's potential for decarbonizing Pakistan's fertilizer segment. And my background is mainly in renewable energy and chemical engineering. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khan Ghulam. My academic background is environmental sciences, and currently I am working as a National Technical Officer in the National Adaptation Plan Readiness Project of MOCC and UNEP.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shandor Fridjik. I'm from UNEP. Currently just moved to the Regional and National Assessment Unit. My recent background has been in foresight, strategic foresight, looking at emerging issues, novel issues, and systems modeling related to that. I have a very diverse background. One of my passions is systems thinking. So for the last 30 years of my work, I've been involved in developing that from humanitarian relief through peacekeeping, human settlements, and now for quite a few years in the United Nations Environment Program. It's a pleasure to be here and to be working with you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Caroline Kaimuru, also from UNEP. I'm with the Global Assessment Unit that produces the Global Environment Outlook, which we'll be discussing a bit later, that shows, one of the examples of reports that follows this integrated environmental assessment approach that we will be speaking about today. So thank you very much for having us. We look forward to engaging with you.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum ji. My name is Engineer Sid Mahmood. I've been part of Power Division, Ministry of Industries, and with different venture capitalists and private sector. Right now into the consulting side and onto the advisory services for different industrial associations, and working actively on mitigation and adaptation interventions on regional level and as well as on local level. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abbas Umar, working as a research associate at SDPI. At SDPI, I am working on projects related to climate change adaptation and disaster risk resilience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know before group photo, because Madam needs to leave as well, but she's also interested in listening the case of Malawi. So Caroline, I know you have a detailed presentation, but if I may request you, you can briefly explain what is the case of Malawi for Madam.
Thank you. So I'll just briefly go through the case of Malawi just to share with everyone what's happening in Malawi. So just for background information, the UNEP has been supporting countries in developing the State of the Environment Outlook reports for years. So this is not the first time. What's different maybe with the case of Malawi, and what could be different also in the case of Pakistan, is that we're now using a more capacity development approach to how we do this. So in the past, in most cases, UNEP would go in, provide some training in the initial stages, and then have the country continue with the development of the reporting itself. In this case, in the case of Malawi, we're working with them step by step in the process, given, of course, they're also facing challenges with capacity as well. So this is a different approach, given also that member states, when they requested GEO7, they asked that UNEP provides supporting services, and one of the supporting services is with regards to environmental outlook reports. So in the case of Malawi, it's a legal requirement, and I think yesterday with discussion with SDPI colleagues, we learned that also in Pakistan there's a legal requirement that asks for the State of the Environment Outlook report. So Malawi did their last report in 2010, and so this is also an update of what they had done previously. So there's been quite some delay in between. Of course, given resources and capacities, they were not able to do it as frequently as the law requires, which is 5 years. The case for Malawi is also through a partnership. So in other than just UNEP and the Malawi Environment Protection Authority, which is of course supported by the government of Malawi, we also do have a partner called Grid Arundel that's working with us to support Malawi. Grid Arundel is a collaborating center for the GEO process. So we involve other partners as well to support Malawi in this endeavor. So of course, the case of Malawi, they're looking at, the feedback loops between the various drivers of environmental change in Malawi and what possible policy options could come out for the report to support policy making, given the challenges that Malawi is facing. Just to show here that in the case of Malawi and also in the case of GEO that you will see later on, it's a process of collaboration and co-creation. And Shanda will also speak to about the participatory nature of the integrated environmental assessment framework. So we've heard it from everyone here, we have great expertise in this room already. And this is what we mean. We want all stakeholders involved as much as possible, because at the end of the day, that lends to the legitimacy and the acceptability of the report. So in the case of Malawi, this is how the structure governing the report looks like. So here at the top, you can see we have the Director General of the Malawi Environmental Protection Authority. And then on the side here, we have what we call the GMAG and what we call the SAG. So Zainab, in her earlier remarks, had referenced that there are advisory bodies that will also be involved in this process. And in the Malawi process, we have the governmental and multi-stakeholder group that provides advice of a policy nature. So they provide advice with regards to the policy relevance of the report. So the people that sit on that group, in that small committee, there are around 6 to 7 people, have expertise from policy fields within the government, have worked with government in various capacities before. So they also help to lend, legitimacy to the report, given that they know how government works. And at the end of the day, they're able to provide advice in the development of the reports that would ensure that the report is taken up by the necessary agencies. We have the scientific advisory group, also a group of 6 to 7 people, and they look at the scientific credibility of the process. So they provide advice to the Director General of MEPA, the authors, and the co-chairs of the assessment in this regard, to ensure that at the end of the day, we want to, like we've all said here before, to ensure that the report is credible. We're looking at data to ensure that, it's data, for evident, for decision making. We know data plays a big role in that. So they provide advice of that nature. On the other side, we have what we called the Natural Resources of Climate Change Committee. So it's a parliamentary committee in Malawi that looks at issues around the environment. So there are periodic consultations with them, just to ensure that at the end of the day, the legal requirement in Malawi asks that this report is presented to MEPA. MEPA comes up with an environmental action plan that is presented to cabinet. So the parliamentary committee plays a role in this sense, because we need to ensure that, all that comes out in the report is able to be integrated in the decision making and policy making of Malawi. So that is where they come in. We also have co-chairs of the assessment. So co-chairs of the assessment in this case are well-renowned scientists in Malawi who then now govern the authors who are writing the report. And in the case of Malawi, we managed to have 2 great professors from Malawi who also have worked in government in one capacity or another. They're influential in Malawi, and also having them in the process lends to the credibility of the report. They are well aware of what it means to produce a State of the Environment Outlook report, and they're working with all these other players that you see here just to ensure that the content is what is needed in Malawi at the moment. Also, like we know that Pakistan faced floods in 2022 that were very disastrous, of course. In the case of Malawi, they also had recently Cyclone Freddy that also caused a lot of havoc and losses in Malawi as well. So this report also for them comes in a timely manner to be able to also address those challenges as well. In this other box towards the right at the bottom, we have now the authors that are involved in the process. So in the case of Malawi, data is a critical issue. Lack of it has been a key issue driving various ministries. And through this process, they're also trying to see how to address the data challenges that are in Malawi. So other than just authors, they're also involving data experts as part of their author team so that they can try and work on these challenges with regards to data. So the author teams, this is how it looks like basically. Coordinating lead authors, contributing authors, all have different responsibilities within the author teams. In the case of Malawi, each chapter has 4 authors, 2 coordinating lead authors, and 2 lead authors, and 1 fellow. So the fellows here are early career professionals in their field who support the authors in research, data, and so on. And what we have learned in the GEO process that we've taken forward to the Malawi process is that, having fellows ensures continuity of the process. So for example, in GEO, we have people who are fellows in GEO4. Right now, some of them are coordinating lead authors in GEO7, some of them are in the advisory bodies, and so on. So it's a continuous process because you're building capacity for people to take up the process as, time goes by. So here's just the secretariat that's supporting the process. Of course, there's Grid Arundel, that, like I mentioned previously, UNEP, and we also have the official and experts from MEPA. So maybe just quickly where we are now. We've conducted the training. In this case, it was a 3-day training that happened, and that's why the co-chairs were selected by MEPA. We had a scoping meeting to come up with the scope of the report sometime in May. And also during that time, there was the initial briefing to the Parliamentary Committee on Natural Resources and Climate Change. We had an inception meeting of the authors in August, and this was just to start the initial drafting of the chapters based on what the scoping document said. There was also an initial briefing for the PSs, that is the permanent secretaries in the various ministries. So one thing we've learned from the GEO process that we carried forward to Malawi is that, those that come from an environmental background, the Ministry of Environment, for example, we're already the converted, but we need to speak to other groups and other ministries that may not be aware of, how massive or how interconnected the environmental challenges connect with other issues, like you said, environment and health and other things as well. So the idea here was to speak to other PSs. For example, we know ministries of finance tend to be the most powerful because they control budgets and so on. So to let the Ministry of Finance, for example, know that, environment, this is a key issue, and, this is how you could support us once this report comes out, maybe in terms of increasing, financing to the Ministry of Environment to carry out certain tasks and so on. So this session was very beneficial in that sense because it also enabled the different ministries involved to nominate focal points for data, because in the case of Malawi, data is very siloed in different ministries, and could be the case in very many other countries as well. So just to ensure that there's that coordination and that data is made available to the different author teams that require to write the report. So just last week, Shandor and I, we were present for the first order draft meeting. So authors, they were just completing the initial first order drafts, and they were also now working on coherence issues because, when authors are separate, drafting, from home or from their offices, they're focused on just their chapter, but they need to look across what is the entire report saying, look at issues around duplication, overlaps, and so on. So that's where we are with Malawi right now. Just to mention that Malawi is planning on having this report ready to be launched in December of next year. Right now, what needs to happen is that they will be going to their peer review, first order draft peer review from the 10th, that's next week, for a period of around 6 weeks. And from there, they'll address the comments and continue developing the report, as well as continuous engagement with the different groups involved. So that's just a small snapshot of the process, and we can go into details about it later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caroline. So we will be engaging the stakeholders, especially different ministries as well, after consultation with the Ministry of Climate Change and Environmental Coordination, through focus group discussions and also through key informant interviews to gather more data. For example, as she has mentioned, Finance Ministry. So definitely one of the key things that Pakistan did this year was the climate budget tagging. They introduced it in the budget as well. So I think relevant federal ministries and relevant provincial departments will be engaged through KIIs and focus group discussions, and also some of them will be made part of the technical working groups that we will be creating. But of course, ministry's advice is one thing that we will consider for this entire process. Today is the inception, and for this entire process, Mr. Asif Sahibzada was nominated by the Ministry of Climate Change as focal person to ensure that the process runs smoothly. But we will have many more meetings with the ministry to finalize this entire working process. Thank you so much, Caroline. Madam, if you have any reflections, please share with us.
Zainab, I was wondering if Madam can also be briefly introduced about this pressure state impact response framework, just a taster of it, couple of minutes, and then if we can request her response, because we'll be leaving early, so it's important. I know it may spoil the whole surprise, but just the definition of it and the idea behind it, why this framework.
Sure. Shender, just briefly, if you can go through the methodology, and just to let you know before Shender presents, this is the same methodology that was adopted by the Punjab government as well. Please.
step of the first one. The DPSIR framework is it's the DPSIR framework, which stands for drivers, pressures, states and trends, impacts and responses. And this is a systematic framework. There are various frameworks that are available to use, but we found that this one's been most effective for us. It's a cause and effect type framework and a very structured approach. It's been used in the geos and it works well. So basically you can see we have, there's various questions that we ask. The very first step is what is happening to the environment. This is at the bottom. Sorry, let me go back. Wrong one. What is happening in the environment, which covers the first three steps: drivers, pressures, and states and trends. So states and trends are observable biophysical phenomena that we're having problems with. So it could be like water quality, could be air pollution. So we start off identifying what are the states and trends, and normally these are over time. So we have an idea of how they vary over time. We then step backwards and we look at the pressures. So what are the pressures actually are causing those states and trends? And these are the direct influences through human interventions, different sectors, and it can also be natural processes as well. And then next we say, well, what is causing the pressures? And these are drivers. Drivers are driving forces. So these could be very broad aspects, human population growth, demographic changes, economic growth. But this is the causal link we find over here. And then we go to the next step, which is what are the consequences for the environment? In other words, the impacts, which is on the right side over there, step 2. And these are the consequences on humans. How is human well-being impacted? Is it how adverse is it? But what we find then, if we close the loop, of course, is that this impacts back into drivers. So, you know, taking a very quick example, you have population growth, you might have pollution as a result of that, of industrialization. You might see pollutants increasing in the atmosphere more than in the past, and you may find that this adversely impacts young people, the youth, which can feed back into your drivers, which is population, and reduce your population. So it's an adverse impact. And then step 3, which is what is being done and how effective, is responses. So the responses, mitigation, adaptation, can feed into either of these. So in a nutshell, that's it. We're going to go through this afternoon an example in a little more detail, just working through it and to see how it can be done. Thanks. I hope that's sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for just giving me the flavor that how the whole exercise will take place. And I think it's very important that what are the data sources that you will be using. So the data points that government has already made, I think it's very important that you have access to those. For example, all the IEEs and environment impact assessments that EPAs do at the federal level, at the provincial level. I think those are very important. And maybe those need to be then, digitized, and, access to that data point is very important. And then to what extent you will be using GIS mapping and, how big data will be used to, find pattern and coming up with indicators. And so I think the data sources and making use of the available information in such a way that, it becomes very useful for the policymaker. That is the key, in my view, that how those data points are identified and how that data is collected and patterns are seen, and then those patterns are converted into actions. So from my perspective, I think that is the most important element. And it's also important that you look at some of the institutional mechanisms available currently in the government, at the provincial level or at the federal level, so that you can also give little bit of, uh, give some comparison maybe with few other countries, that how they are looking at these things. And if we have to regularly update these reports, and if we can institutionalize the data points and systems where, maybe after every year, we can, just update the data points, and, we can generate these reports more quickly. So some institutional mechanism should be in place for generating these reports every year or every 2 years. I think that would be very helpful. And when you are working at the drivers and, the causal impact, I think it would also be important to distinguish between the drivers which exist in Pakistan and the drivers which exist outside Pakistan, so that, we put the pressure on the country only for what we are contributing. We cannot resolve everything that rest of the world is doing. So for that, we have to hold rest of the world responsible, so that we don't face the impact of what we are not doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And you're absolutely right. Yes. You're absolutely right, ma'am. That's definitely Pakistan is not just bearing the brunt of its own local crisis that's creating environmental issues, but also some international pressures are there, international causes are there, some issues are transboundary as well. So we'll make sure that those things get addressed. And regarding your point that we should be generating data, and at least after 1 or 2 years, a report should be updated. So the plan is that once this draft gets prepared, in the second phase, we will be digitizing the report. And through digitizing, UNEP will be supporting us. So once it gets digitized, we'll ensure that the data gets updated within the digital version. So it will be easier to access information by all stakeholders once it's digitized. Thank you so much. May I please request everyone to join us at the back for a group photo before Madam leaves? Thank you.